Raghavan, Bedi in a turban, Vijay Jaishima, Jayantilal. They helped to win the series against the West Indies at Sabina Park and Queen's Park Oval. 158 by Ganai, really sent our hopes up high. Noriega 9 for 95, the Indian team, they still survive. It was Gavaskar, the real master, just like a wall. We couldn't out Gavaskar at all, not at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all.
Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Selvon Mitchell, one of the umpires for this afternoon session. Afternoon to the listening audience internationally, locally. Afternoon to the management and staff of 91.9 FM. Steve Matheson and my colleague Rolox are dealing with matters of state this afternoon. They will be here in a short, but in the meantime, I'll continue examining the wicket, examining the field of play, examining the condition the batsman supposed to be, the kind of training that was required for him to perform in the wicket and perform effectively. We'll be taking callers in the second segment of our program this evening as we go forward. In the wicket, we continue from last week. We have the Minister of Labour was front and center, and on the bowling side we have the Minister of Trade. We have examined to some extent, to a large extent, the conditions of the pitch where the Minister of Labour is concerned, and some of the bowling, the people in the bowling order, and how he have to so prepare himself and his support from the stand to be effective at the innings that he'll be batting. If we look at his role and responsibility while he's in the wicket, to a large extent, is advocacy for workers' rights. But not only workers' rights, employers' rights also. He have to create that balancing environment for both entities to exist and coexist. You have to try and promote what we call constructive engagement of trade union, meaningful dialogue, timely intervention and so forth, and make sure the Ministry of Labour, again with policies as he himself indicated in the Labour Day celebration, strengthen legislation to make this environment, what we call the labour industry, a more productive and effective industry in terms of delivering goods and services to the burgesses, to the people as a whole. Apart from that, create an environment where business would thrive and business will be attractive to the nature and the structure of the industrial relation climate. As you know, that is one of a critical ingredient for trade and industry to exist in any economy to a large extent, right? By that environment, that a willing workforce, a trained workforce, and so forth. An industrial relation climate that speaks to productivity and economic development of a country and so. I know his role in terms of reviewing some of the laws and legislation by sitting with both parties, capital as we call it on one side and labor on the other side, and making sure there's a balanced set of treaties, I call it. I want to call it treaties for each to provide the goods, the service, the resources, and the support to each other to create an enabling environment. I just saw one thing that was changed in this, what's gazetted, and I see some vision in the captain of this side. In the past, we would have had NETCO, I could never understand it, was under the Minister of Labour, and I see cooperative societies and friendly societies under the Minister of Labour. That is something, the last session, I saw it went under, NETCO went under what they call youth development and so forth. We have to understand the importance of these rules. And if the batsman, who is the Minister of Labour, is in the wicked, we have to be mindful of things that would keep him back, distract him from being effective at what he's supposed to do in the wicked. Netco, as we go forward, dealing with the man on the batting side, more align itself with trade and industry and so forth. So I could never understand why we always place Netco under labor, under youth development, when its rubric to a large extent speak to trade, industry, investment, manufacturing, the movement of capital to some extent. Yeah. The other part of it, I look at something that may hamstring to some extent the batsman in the wicket called the Minister of Labour. When you have cooperatives and friendly society credit union, I try to figure out if we understand the nature and the genesis of friendly society and cooperative, we will see it was born out of community, the community environment and the community engagement. And I always wondered why we never place these things under community development and so forth, that ministry that really impinge upon the activity of creating that environment of networking resources within the community and nurturing from a friendly society side relationships in the community. As if we look back, way back, where our parents, you know, fathers, and they're leaving home and they say they're going in the lodge and so forth. To old talk. Well, we call it old talk. We don't know what they're doing in the lodge, beating drum, coughing. Now we don't know what they're doing in the lodge. But that was born out of community and community relationship. Likewise, cooperative like credit unions, bought out of, what does it call it, Susu, and thing long time. These are all community type engagement. And I hope a review of where they position these things is moved totally from the Minister of Labour, allowing him to batter good innings and not burdening him down with distracting him with these other two pieces of armor that they put on him that are not necessary for him to be effective. By having these two pieces, he have on his pads, he have on his gloves, and all the necessary rib pads and so forth. These two are not necessary really and truly in terms of bringing about the level of efficacy we want from the Minister of Labour and so forth. Once he have these tools, and based on what he said in Labour Day, it seemed to me to a large extent that he understands clearly what is his remit, what is the expectation. And once he facilitates that enabling environment for harmonious working relationship, productivity, you speak about all of this, demonstrating leadership in the industry, in the working industry, be it from manufacturing, be it in the security industry, be it from the professional industry and so forth. Teachers are part of the labor industry and so forth. Create that leadership that is so required and so forth. I think he will have a good innings in the wicket. You always have to look out for the type of bowlers, be it a Yorker, a googly, a spin, a bouncer that will be coming at him. But once he keep in line and keep focus, yes, on his role and responsibility really and what is expected of him while he's in the wicket, I think surely he will have a very, very, very good and successful innings as the Minister of Labour. I expect some 6 from him really and truly in some of the things he espoused in Labour Day. Some of those laws he want to review, registration of the trade union movements and so forth, some of the trade unions to be registered, the length of time it taken to register trade union, recognition of the role of productivity, the promoting of training and development for workers in the working sector, to a large extent, protecting workers through strengthening OSH to a large extent. There are some little things he had to put in his training and preparation and so forth, ensuring that the OSH authority is really empowered to a large extent. And probably you could go to the extent that probably you could precept some of the OSH people so they could arrest some employers sometime when they go outside and see some of the condition workers are working in sometimes. I mean, there's a sidebar. Some people will smile cheekily as I say that. but it's something that is very, very, very important that Ush be one of his main tool when he goes out there to bat, that he use to ensure that that climate and that environment that workers exist and coexist on a daily basis are one conducive to production, productivity, and so forth. It's very, very critical. Sometimes we complain about, oh God, and the man abusive to me, and the worker speaks so, and he only lie me, and so far nobody takes into consideration the environment that worker have to exist on a daily basis for 8 hours or 12 hours as the case may be, and then we question the level of productivity from that worker. So, Batsman, Minister of Labour, these are some of the things you have to look at carefully as you go to that line, to face your balls and so forth, those balls that will be coming at you from the bowler. There are some good bowlers on the other side, there are some cheeky bowlers on the other side, and they'll be sending in some might roll the ball underhand, and they're trying to figure out what kind of ball is that. You understand? When you expect a googly and so forth, they might just roll the ball, or some might scooch and all, you know. And we as the umpire have to identify when scooching taking place, you know. Batsman, we will identify when they're scooching and they're putting a proper wrong arm in their delivery. We'll be very, very attentive to how those bowlers ball the ball. But once you have been trained and so prepared and recognize the level of preparedness that is required for you to have a productive, good inning inside of there, with the support of your colleagues on the bowling end, we'll see some fruit. And as the ball bowled now, we see a single has been played, well played single. So we see the Minister of Trade now is on the batting side. The field is going to turn around a little bit while the Minister of Trade is on the batting end now, and he's going to face a bowler. We haven't seen the bowler. For some reason, this bowler is he have his hat low over his eyes, and he have on a shade, so we can't make him out. So we don't know what kind of ball he's going to bowl as yet. But Minister of Trade, we hope that you have been so prepared and aptly knowledgeable about how to bat some of those balls that will be coming at your ministry and so forth. Your responsibility, if you haven't been told before, but knowing the Minister of Trade, I know he have aptly been prepared, if not self-prepared, for this challenge that he will have, the uphill challenge of turning around the game really and truly, and ensuring that there's good score on the board. While you come into a game that really and truly, the captain is saying, look, we $9 billion, hey, we are looking too good. We in the red a little bit. We're pushing back. You, Minister of Trade, batsman in the wicket, have to help turn around this whole game now. You have to help turn it around. Something that we always ask ourselves, you know, we measure it daily. Countries measure it, what we call the ease of doing business. And we have to ask ourselves, for Trinidad to become, or this team in the wicket, to turn around this game to a large extent, we have to create an environment that is called, and is measured internationally, the ease of doing business. Is it easy to do business in Trinidad and Tobago? Is it easy to register a company? Is it easy to open a bank account to do business? Is it easy to clear something on the port? If these factors are factors that impedes productivity, impedes businesses, and or create what we call frustration to the businessman, then we actually saying really and truly he has a real work to do. But those are some of the measurements. When you start to look at the economy and the economic diversification, and we start to look at industrialization and industrial development, we have to look at, is there ease of doing business in Trinidad and Tobago? Is it easy to do business, yes or no? So unless you remove those barriers or start looking at policies that would enable people to want to, people must want to, people must look at this economy and say that batsman batting nice. I like how we batting. I could sit down in the pavilion now. I could bring some a cooler with some things to eat and drink and so forth, because and that's what we call an enabling environment that encouraging us to come now. We need to come. We need to invest. We need to see how you create that synergy in terms of trade and trade expansion. Yeah? How we look at tariffs, how we look at free trade agreement. We see the bugbear with US and China and all of those people fighting up, and who had to pay 20% and who can come here and who want to go there and who want to bring things cheaper and so forth. Where do we fit in, and how are you structuring your button, which is the economy, to deal with the harsh realities of creating an environment that all these people who have all these challenges outside there will be attracted to this game, to this feel that you putting together now for some deliveries on the board and so forth. How are you doing that? Your trade agreements, how are you going to start looking at your trade agreements? And who are you going to start looking at trade agreements with? Who? Market access. What market are you going to allow in terms of policy or enable our manufacturers to access, or distributors to access? What sort of free trade agreement in terms of duties and so forth? We have our arrangement with CARICOM and so forth, but CARICOM in itself, with about 12 million people, isn't so much a market to help turn around the real way. We want the ship to turn around, really and truly. So, Minister of Trade, batsman in the wicket, really and truly, you have to see how we expose this economy to the wider market. How we expose it to the wider market. What we have to sell, what we have to offer. What policies are we going to put in place to encourage investors to come to this country, as the case may be? What policies are we going to put? Who we want to attract in this industry, as the case may be? What we have to export? What are we manufacturing? What materials do we need? What concessions are you giving to manufacturers? What concessions are you giving to the agriculture sector in terms of export, which generate a significant amount of our foreign trade? How are we going to do that? Which market are you going to look at? I hear you mention, which was a good ball, which means you have on a nice pad on and you have a nice little bat on. I know it's a bat signed by Brian Lara that you were batting when you swore in, when you mentioned. After that swearing-in ceremony, you mentioned the attractiveness of the African market. That market in Africa that embodies 1.4 plus billion persons and so forth. When you look at the ECOWA, the Economic Community of West African States, that have what 400 million plus persons in it, and those are the what we call, between us here, the thriving states of Africa and so forth, that have over 400 million people in those states. You're talking Burkina Faso, you're talking Nigeria, you're talking Ghana and those states and so forth, Guinea and those states and so Ethiopia, that really have the economic resources to create a nice synergy, a nice trading synergy with Trinidad and Tobago and so forth in terms of goods and service and the movement of goods and service between both countries and so forth. You have to create that enabling environment to make sure your innings is a well-spent inning in the wicket, as the case may be. How you promote business facilitation. What are the most critical things? I wanna think it as we in the pavilion and we talking, the third empire, we talking and we looking at the batsman. Some of the markets that you go into, you mentioned Africa, and I want to say it here. Someone who have worked with in the embassy before and so forth, Nigerian embassy before. Nigeria and Africa as a whole is a peculiar market. So I kind of giving the batsman some tip as the empire, because I want the inning to be good. I want a nice little match to be played outside. I know if he hearing me, you know, because he busy, he getting up to bat. He out on the field, so I doubt he hearing me, but I know the people in the pavilion hearing me, and they will have a similar expectation from him when they're watching him to see if he understand, as I will explain, his level of preparedness for batting in the wicket. Africa as a continent is a continent where we call of tradition. You hear the Orishas and them talk about it. They don't call what they have as a religion, you know, they call it a tradition. Is behaviors, is relationship, is respect, is protocol. When all these things are recognized, then the talk commerce and business after. But what is important to them is those tradition. And in batting, ball in the wicked, looking at Africa as a source for a good innings, we must be mindful of how we so prepare ourselves to treat with that African market, that African continent that embrace. I was zero it into ECOWA right now, right? That 400 million plus people, right? That is poised to do trade with us, bilateral trade with us and so forth. I think last week or week before there was an inaugural flight from Nigeria to St. Lucia. So they have recognized there's something on this side of the globe, Africa, that is worth exploring. On the 27th of this month, 27, 28, the president of Nigeria will be, who is presently the chairman of ECOWA, will be in St. Lucia on business and vacation. He's in your doorstep. He's in your domain. Your innings could be good, you know, batsman. Your innings could be good. Just watch across and you'll see some ball you could bowl. Balls that coming at you that you could hit. You could make some six. We could see at 36, you know. We have on your doorstep on the 6th to the 8th of July, on your doorstep again. You could make some six again, you know. The CARICOM heads of government where are peeping it out at you. Jamaica. Remember, I want to pull back. Afri-Exim Bank is there, knocking on the door. So prefacing it for the batsman in the wicket now. Showing him opportunity. How we could do a 36 plus while he's in the wicket. Right now, Afri-Exim Bank is telling the CARICOM community that, look, you see the fact that you all signed so far, not all of you all signed, we have available $1.3 billion available for small, medium enterprises, plus the government could borrow a thing too, you know. But it's there for small and medium enterprises, the man who want to build tourism type project, the man who want to do a hospital, the man who want to get involved in manufacturing. They say, we here, let's do trade. We lend in US dollars, so you don't worry about it. We lend in US dollars because it doesn't make sense. You borrow in TT dollars and then you have to look for US dollars now to buy the raw material and the piece of equipment in the US. So they say, here what? Hey, we lend you in US dollars. So take the money, buy your piece of equipment, buy your raw material. Hey, we're going further, you know. Batsman, how you listen, you know. How you peep the third empires and them, you know. We say, although we lend you the money, will help you access market to the African continent, you know. We'll hold your hand and we'll walk with you. That is how easy it is, batsman, for you to hit some good sixes now while you're in the wicket, because you have a lot of Lucozade and Gatorade and what they call them other product. Well, I shouldn't be calling no name because they're paying for no ad here now. But it has some good nourishing product in some coolers outside there. Yeah? When we start to get the ads, I will start to call the products that are nourishing in the cooler, but we are getting no ad yet. So I can't call no product name. Yeah? But so the Afri-Exim Bank is poised and positioned. But here what is happening on between the 6th and the 8th batsman? Jamaica. Ooh. Only Jamaica and Trinidad haven't signed the partnership agreement, yeah? To facilitate the lending of money to those two islands. Jamaica, are whispering in your ear? Jamaica is looking to sign the partnership agreement during the CARICOM heads of government in Montego Bay, between the 6th to the 8th. The question is, batsman, will you also position Trinidad to sign that partnership agreement? And you know, if all the islands of the Caribbean sign that partnership agreement, you know what happened, batsman? That 1.3 million will be increased to $3 billion. From 1.3 billion will be increased to $3 billion available to the CARICOM region for businesses to borrow and trade. Remember, the CARICOM region is considered the 6th continent. You remember? They have embraced us, eh? They have embraced us as the 6th continent. Right now, I know it took place last week, I think. There is the 32nd biennial conference of the Afro-Exim Bank in Abuja taking place right now. And what is interesting, the theme of that conference is an interesting theme, you know. How does Africa and the Caribbean work together in a fractured world? How does Africa and the Caribbean work together in a fractured world? So Africa is seeing the importance of the vision you, batsman, spoke of when you took that oath of office. So what I'm saying, everything is aligned, is positioned for you, batsman, to make some serious run. Everything is in place, it is positioned, it's up to you to go in, face the ball, wipe your brow, move the sweat from your face, and so forth, and let us have some six on the board. Trinidad, signing with Jamaica, that partnership agreement between the 6th to the 8th in Montego Bay, that would demonstrate clearly and truly we could see a 36 coming from you. By you helping to stimulate that private sector in terms of manufacturing, in terms of tourism, in terms of hospital tourism, in terms of research and development. Listen, in terms of port facility, these are some of the areas the bank lending money for tourism type projects. They're interested in that. Any type of project that will create a cross-fertilization and movement of people within the diaspora, Africa, Caribbean. It is what is in the center of their fabric of lending. We have creative people in Trinidad, you know. We have people yearning for the opportunity to access financing to do a number of projects in Trinidad. I know a major port project that from friends of mine want to do out in the ocean there in terms of ship repair and ship maintenance and so forth. There's a major project. I know of one 26-story building that want to be built in Port of Spain there that would house a hotel. It will house apartments. It will house embassies. It will house medical facilities and so. These are major projects that is on the eyes and ears of the Afro-Exim Bank. All they need for you to do, and this your team to do, is sign the partnership agreement, and we could have flooded into this country not less, based on what is before them, not less than $200 million into this economy. So, batsman, everything is aligned for you. So we're talking investment promotion, business facilitation. From a financial standpoint, it is so prepared for you. So you're coming in a wicket now that it seems like you've been training, and then your background as a manufacturer, as a distributor, you are so poised and prepared for your innings, really and truly. I see a 36, you know, in the first thing. That's what this empire sees so far, a 36. I know my colleagues and them had a say, you know, but this third empire is seeing some good things coming off. Once you're poised, position, according to the crease, where you stand up by the crease will determine the success of your innings in the wicket and so forth. Innovation, digital transformation, the ease of doing business, as I said, all these things are there. You now is a major facilitator in ensuring that these things happen. How you position this economy, how you position your ministry, how you position your people in the various embassies outside there. Now, I don't know what they have been doing in the embassies all these times. I know they are trade attaches. Well, that's what they call them. I don't know if that's what they do. You have to redefine. While in office, while at the crease, you have to redefine the role and responsibility of a trade attache. If that trade attache should be, I don't know, somebody on contract, should be a public servant, should be a businessman, someone who understands business, someone who I don't know. You have to redefine, to a large extent, the role, function, and responsibility and measurement of the performance of this trade attaché that we have outside there. We have trade attaché, I understand. We have in Nigeria, we have people, we have Ghana, we have people, and one or two other countries outside there, we have trade attaché. But the economic landscape relative to trade haven't demonstrated that much have been going on with this trade attaché that comes out of the bowels of what you're responsible for. And this is something critically. You as a batsman, a trades batsman, have to examine very, very critically how they function. What are the measurements of performance that is expected? What are the nuances? What are the challenges that exist in we, on this side of the globe, getting product to that side? And the businesses on that side getting their product on this side of the globe. What I understand, I'm looking at it. Trinidad is a melting pot for connectivity between the Americas and Africa. We are a melting pot. And I am sure that his batsman understand that. I'm sure he understands that. And I'm sure what he will be doing is facilitating, a simple facilitation. You know, we could look back and say, well, a lot of the guys in the US and those places would go to Mexico for manufacturing because the labor is cheap. They go to China and the labor is cheap and they manufacture across there and then they ship it back because of labor. So some of them say it, but that was a time ago. Labor isn't so cheap in those countries anymore. What Trinidad possesses is what we call a gateway of trade. See, back then in Roman times, you have the trading hubs and so forth, where you have a gateway. We are the gateway between Africa and the Americas, as the case may be. We are poised to position ourselves as a major manufacturing hub for the African continent. The type of coffee and cocoa and minerals that exist there, in terms of bringing it to this disabling environment where energy cost is cheap, where we have a highly skilled labor force, when we have what we call economic zone that was formerly free trade zone, economic zone for manufacturing, where we have a number of existing treaties and trade arrangement with the Americas, Latin America, and the Caribbean region. This is the repositioning now as Trinidad as that sort of manufacturing hub. That facilitation can be had to attract those persons who want to enter those markets by using that critical resource we have in Trinidad. Those critical resources, I should say, in terms of energy, in terms of that knowledgeable workforce, and those treaties that exist presently that create the movement of goods and services between the economies and so forth. We looking good. We standing nice in the wicked. It's beautiful. And I'm seeing that at 36, minimum, because he could do more than 36 in the wicked, you know, because this environment for him, because here what, them bowlers could bowl some no ball and he could hit a little 4, I hit a little 2 singles with it and end up with, watch now, thing nice. So he can end up facing more than 6 balls in a over. The way things line up and position for this batsman called Trade Minister Batsman. Yeah? The economic environment and just that, how we have to structure and create that enabling, I like to use enabling environment because it's a moving word, enabling environment for success while he in the wicket as the case may be. So we can have those agreements with ECOWA and so forth. It is easy to have. They want to have it. They're very much interested in it. The Chamber of Industry and Commerce, have discussion with them. And the minister was part of the Chamber of Industry. And you know the aggressiveness that exists in the Chamber of Industry and Commerce and so forth. they will be embracing these opportunities and are really looking forward to how those balls, how he position himself when those balls are coming at him and so forth, because they poised, ready, willing, and able to work with this batsman to turn around this whole economy and so forth, right? So he have everything working for him. The cooler is packed. The cooler have some energy drinks in it and so forth. Yeah? The mat is laid. A cloud just pass over. And the sun is leaning a little bit. It is not so hot as it was before. The temperature is going down, and it's beautiful. A breeze started to blow from the east, and it's blowing through the pavilion right now. I see the hats of the players in the field fluttering and so forth. The environment is nice. I'm seeing at 36. I welcome the other umpires into the stand right now. I know they were on matters of state. I know they perform well at a high level at any task is before them. So I know much success in terms of moving the goalposts a little forward. So welcome Matheson, welcome Rolox. I hand over the finishing end of this batsman opening innings to you all. Afternoon.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, Trinidad.
Sorry to be
good evening, listeners.
this late this evening. We had a matter that went kind of a little later than normal, and so we are here today, and we were listening to your discourse about on the batsman and what are some of the conditions that he's faced with, and we have some ideas as to some of the challenges and some of the challenges with the outfield at this time and how it could be dealt with. I'm not too sure what Ronaldo will have to say with regards to how it could be dealt with, but I know that we do have some challenges and we would have to deal with it accordingly.
Well, good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. CLR James did refer in his book Beyond the Boundary to matters off the pitch that affect things on the pitch, and that the game of cricket was more than what we were seeing. And our present situation today, nationally and internationally, tells us and hints to us that definitely some of the things and some of the illustrious plans that we have for the game, as we've seen it, as people have promised, will be affected by matters beyond the boundary indeed. Matters that are happening live internationally, and while they might be afar from us, they say when your neighbor house on fire, wet yours. And definitely we understand in this context as fellow umpires that there are things outside that may affect the performance of the trade and industry person, of the national security person, of the labor person, of the Minister of Finance, you know, and the captain herself may be affected by these exogenous factors. You understand? You know, the interconnectivity of world and geopolitics, as Stephen rightly coins, affects our local economy in many ways and one. So, you know, we the batsman may have promised to hit 50 in 3 overs, or to even make a century, but we understand that there are some things in the clouds. There's a prediction of moisture that may cause the ball to turn differently. So therefore the ability to deliver might be stymied, Mr. Matheson.
And to a large extent, you know, listening to what you say and wanting to juxtapose what would have taken place over the weekend, from Friday, we would have seen that a lot of international maneuvering would have taken place just to be able to strike Iran, which has significant consequences. consequences beyond, a lot of consequences way beyond our control, but significant enough to do significant damage, because oil could now go up from about 35 to, by about 35 to 50% immediately. And what that would mean with Iran's retaliation, it could mean that but I think they would have already closed they voted on closing the Strait of Hormuz today. And if that happened, the world loses about 25% of the trade shipping that goes through that area. That means that everything will become very expensive, and some of which will be very difficult to get. Now, I don't know how China will react to that, because while China is a natural ally of Iran, China may have to negotiate the reopening of that strait, because most of their goods passes through there, and then you have the Red Sea route, and the Houthis, the prospects that the Houthis could also do major damage, because the Houthis are a major ally of Iran, and therefore they can also do damage to shipping in that area. And then there are other things that Iran voting to come out of the treaty on non-proliferation. That is another issue, because it would now mean that Iran could go dark on the world, and they could, with the help of Russia and other places, could start to produce or make a nuclear bomb. And let's not forget that strike that Trump came and boasts about, where he striked Fordo with massive whatever. They did no destruction. They did no destruction to the Iranian enrichment site. So what Iran was able to do even before was remove about 30 or so trucks, removed the uranium. So and still they didn't strike. From the information that came across on the news, they weren't able to strike or to destroy the site. So that in itself is dangerous for the world. Not in that Iran is producing nuclear or has the capacity to enrich the weapons grade, but the message that is being sent destabilizes the world. The message that is being sent by the US and its ally and its proxy, I would say, because in my opinion Israel is a proxy, is not good for the world at this time, because it's creating a serious antness and it is going to destabilize trade worldwide. Those things, my friend, have major consequences and challenges for small island nations like Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, when you examine these occurrences, right, there are many different levels in which you can analyze the happenings without even getting into too much of the pros and cons and the details. For one, you must appreciate and understand the issue of vulnerability. And if large states, larger than ours, are vulnerable and are eyeing these events with caution and hoping for de-escalation, you could imagine what are the consequences for the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. That's one of the major issues. Secondly, you understand the issue of sovereignty. Mm-hmm. Good? Now, you only, in my view, well, and has been demonstrated, you're only as sovereign as your ability to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good one.
And your ability to feed yourself.
Good one.
You understand? That is where your sovereignty lies. It has nothing to do with the UN and signing a paper and you are a member. You could talk from day one. Mm-hmm. Good? Only certain countries, most of them members of the G7, have the ability to enforce, protect, and decide where sovereignty stops.
Exactly. Might is right.
And where it ends. Good? So we like to talk a lot about that in the Caribbean. We have a lot of meetings and conferences, and we're hearing about carry this and carry that. Good? But I take us back to our some discussions months ago, and even in the last batsman with the Dragon Gas. Mm-hmm. One man's decision change that whole paradigm. You could talk sovereignty for all you want, one man's decision, you know. So we would want, we see we are going to have a drinks break soon. So we'd want to explore some of these things more after the drinks break. And we see how some of these factors, even in the song that, our team song with Gavaskar, the singer, the author was talking about things off the pitch, who had a son, who make duck, and sometimes all these things affect men in the wicket. And our batsmen in the wicket here, you know, the new team will certainly be affected without choice. They don't have a choice by some of these events.
We have to look at the choice they have to make.
Correct.
It's choices now, you know, an alignment, and the foundation that was laid is the choices the batsmen have to make in terms of alignment for survival.
Correct.
Really and truly.
And of course, we will also want to hear what the pavilion have to say after the drinks break.
Yeah, well, you'll give out the numbers.
The number that you will get us on pavilion at 342-0081, 466-5391, and 771-1791. It will be interesting to hear what your take is on the prevailing conditions, the outfield, what we've just explored, some of the solutions. I know Selvan would have given some of the solutions earlier on, and how we can maneuver ourselves out of this impending crisis. I think this started with a crisis, but it is now even more precarious because what is happening now in relation to these new developments over the last few days is going to impact the outfield. It is going to impact us very, very, very significantly.
Yes, the other team had COVID. The team that is the fielding team had COVID, and they managed by, you know, that jury's still out. This team has wars.
This team has Shano and Marco.
Correct. The wars. And that will be very interesting, the role they play. You know, some ball you could duck, and some ball you duck into it and it hit you on your head. You understand? So it'll be very interesting to see how we interpret our role.
How we navigate out of
Correct.
this. So ladies and gentlemen, we will now go to a break to pay some bills.
Pay some bills.
Yeah?
Solid.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
This summer, give your child skills of a lifetime with several boot camp. Children between the ages of 5 to 17, come enjoy Children Iron Chef Competition. Your child will learn to prepare healthy breakfast, lunch, dinner, CPR, first aid, and conflict management. With field trip, your child will be given free apron and certification upon completion. Call 492-7397 or 336-4935. Institute of Health and Fitness Company Limited, located at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Tunapuna.
For the month of June, registration will only be $50 to book your space, and you can pay the tuition fee before the start of camp.
TNT, get ready, get hungry, and get to the hut because it's lunchtime! From pizzas to pastas, breadsticks to cinnamon rolls, Pizza Hut's all-you-can-eat lunch buffet is all yours for only $55. Sundays to Thursdays, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and extended to 4 p.m. on Sundays. Check socials for info on selected locations nationwide and take your hunger to the hut. Pizza Hut. Now that's delivering.
Ikaro, I am Alatumishe Ifabamishe Aganki, better known as MC Duke. And
every Monday between the hours of 9 p.m. to midnight,
I host a show called Orisha, The Way of Life, right here on the Sheet 919 FM, where I have guests passing through from the Orisha Ifa Baptist Diaspora to educate, edify, and inform you, the listening public, about Orisha Ifa practices. So remember to tune in
every Monday between the hours of 9 p.m. to midnight
for Orisha, The Way of Life.
Don't miss June savings at Furniture Plus. Get up to 50% off shop appliances, furniture, electronics, mattresses, and more. Buy now, pay later with affordable higher purchase plans. Plus, earn Caribbean Airlines. Travel miles with your purchase. Visit any Furniture Plus stores or shop online.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning on The Street 919 FM radio. Hear my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the Word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life I lay it on the altar, as my life.
Tune in to The Street 919 FM every Friday from 9:15 a.m. to 9:45 a.m. with Kingdom Health Services, situated at number 125 to 186 Eastern Main Road in Tunapuna. For the program, Health and Healing, merging the old with the new, with Mr. Brent Diet. For more information, call 318-7471 or 484-0141 or 360-4100. It's all about Kingdom Health Services on The Street 919 FM.
Whoever said messy was a bad thing totally missed the point. Take that hit song everyone loves now. It probably started like this. Baby, calm down. That's why KFC is celebrating the messy moments with our Messy Cruncher and Messy Zinger sandwiches for only $34.95. Imagine a crunchy, golden brown, flavorful chicken sandwich sauced to perfection with our signature sweet, spicy, tangy sauces. Oh boy. So crunch into the deliciously messy moments today. Check socials for details. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Join the winning team with Pastor Alkaline John
every Tuesday from 11:05 a.m. to 12 noon and every Thursday night from 8 to 9 p.m.
live on The Street 919 FM as he talks about Lviv, the power of 5 fruits, one of the most powerful antioxidant supplements on the market today. The 5 superfruits in Lviv are mangosteen, acai, pomegranate, goji, and nuni. These fruits have a positive and profound impact on human health performance and disease. Join him as he gives live testimonials of the Lviv healing powers. To get more information, you can contact Pastor Alkaline John at 516-286-7079 or you can visit his webpage at www.alkalinejohn.com. Remember,
every Tuesday from 11:05 a.m. to 12 noon and every Thursday night from 8 to 9 p.m.
live on The Street 919 FM.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the umpires are here and we will be taking your call shortly. But we just want to recap a little on the batsmen that are in the wicket today, the one that is in the wicket and the one that's facing. And we also want to talk a little bit about the pitch conditions, for which we spoke a little of in closing. The question here must be how these two batsmen maneuver themselves out of the challenges that is presented to them on the outfield, and what kind of measures that should be taken to deal with some of them. So coming up in the car, I was listening to Selvon and he was talking about the gateway to Africa to a large extent, and some of the tools or some of the things that we have available to us to be able to do that. My take on that is that we need Trinidad and Tobago, or these two batsmen in particular, they need to take advantage of what is happening too. In every adversity, there are opportunities. We need to take advantage of it. And there will be a lot of diplomatic maneuvering, but we need to get somebody in places like India, China, Africa, to a large extent. There are a lot of resources, there are a lot of things happening in those places that we could utilize, and they are fairly neutral. Not necessarily neutral, but they are fairly, they want to help in countries like these. If more so to expand their own global reach, but they would like to assist in these kind of areas and in helping developing countries like these. And I think we could take advantage of it.
Well, I might be cautiously optimistic, unlike you, because I do understand that international trade also is constrained by international relations and geopolitics. So you're only free to negotiate and trade with who you want in theory. And we know that because depending on the country and depending on the reaction and the relationship with the powers that be, and we have seen examples of that with the tariffs. You know, the big stick policy, for want of a better word, has returned. And if you are sidelined, or if you are screened or highlighted by some of these countries as somebody not to do trade with, they will make it very difficult for you to enter into relationships. So trade aside, the batsman has to be very aware of the geopolitics and the constraints in his ability to negotiate deals and accept deals.
I think the whole team have to accept the fact that we are in a global ansness.
Correct.
And we have to find a way to present ourselves, one, as neutral, to pull our hands out of the dragon mouth, but at the same time, we have to also do the best thing that is most places. There's a global alignment going on, taking place right now.
Realignment.
Realignment.
Yes.
And countries, after what happened Friday, is beginning to realize that where they were aligning before might necessarily be where the goal is now. Things are happening differently. You hear some of the countries coming out and kicking against what was done, and they aren't the usual suspects.
But Mr. Matheson, even so, for instance, Russia has given her support as friends of both parties.
Exactly.
However, we have reached a stage with boots on the ground, or we have reached a stage with action.
Let's take this call. This call. Good afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Afternoon,
you all would have said so much, but I just want to put in one thing. All of these things are nice, but if we cannot solve the problem of these cashers that are closing up when it's lunchtime, I really don't know how we still doing that in 2025. Especially when sometimes they're spending whole day in this establishment and the cashier still closing up for an entire hour. I don't know how did that. Boy, I don't know now. But that
is certainly a problem, and that's something that we've been talking about for quite some time. I think it has to do with the management of human resource, or the management of the resources in the establishment. And you find that more happening in government organization, where the workers doesn't see revenue or revenue generation or customer service as critical. That will not happen in a private sector organization. But the thing is,
I know one picture KFC closing for an hour when it's lunchtime.
Correct. So that wouldn't happen. There must be a renewed understanding or understanding the vision.
And it must filter down. Well, we can't trade like that. We can't trade like that.
I'm listening off here.
Well, that whole thing falls under what we call ease of doing business.
Correct.
Because if I leave wherever I come from, USA, China, Russia, to come here to do business.
And lunchtime reach.
You can't tell me how to wait. Time is money for me.
And that happens
I've spent a number of money to invest to come down here to do business. You tell me a whole hour because you want to eat a fry bake. Well, double or something down the road.
That happens in places like customs and those kind of critical places.
More than that, in some places in customs, you can use card. Use cash and all kind of thing. And trying to figure out.
That's craziness.
So ease of doing business. These are some of the points the man in the wicked had to look at.
Yes.
To create that enabling environment for a man to leave here and come and do business. He can clear some in customs. Yeah, caller.
Let me take this call. Yeah. Good afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. You know, I would like to say something, but I know people will beat me up, but I'll say it anyhow. Because of the unions, there is very little that can be done, because every time somebody tries to do something to correct these issues, the unions start to protest, they strike, and it's a whole hullabaloo and dramas that they produce. It's worse than a drama child. You understand?
Well, so, unless I'm hearing you, but again, you're talking to people here who understand collective agreement and who understand, unless it's something that says in your collective agreement from 12 to 1 you have lunch, which I find that to be archaic, then that will may have to stand until they change it. But the thing is,
why not stagger it?
Even with that,
the whole place have to close down.
Yeah, right. This is what I'm saying. So even with that, you could have staggered working hours. Some people could come to work for 7, some people could come for 6, some people could come for 8, 9, and then you could have lunch hour staggered also. So 4 hours after you come, you get lunch hour. So that way you wouldn't have. Yes, it's all about managing your human resource. So that way you wouldn't have your place closing because it's lunchtime. That doesn't make sense.
Let me tell you something. I was a victim of something like that years ago. I went to get my certificate because I was trying to get a job in the down in Sabaneta side. And I gone. And the fella there stand up, he talking. He have nothing to study with me. Nada I need check. Gone back again. Nada I need check. Gone back again next couple of weeks. Nada I need check. Until one day, thank goodness, I went lunchtime. And he went for lunch. And a lady down in the back saw me waiting in the front. And she came, "Excuse me, sir, can I help you?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." Because by that time I signed up for a supplementary certificate. I said, "Well, I came to collect my supplementary." She said, "But why you don't want the full one?" I said, "Because the guy keep telling me that I ain't come." She said, "But sir, that has been here for the past 4 months."
And that's a challenge.
And I lost the job. And because of this lackadaisical mentality,
wow,
we have a lot of problems. And again, as I said, it is difficult to fix. I had an operation to do in the hospital. It was scheduled for X, Y, and Z day. And because the persons, 3 people, take 400 days off a year and something, them just on sick leave, holidays, everything one after the next. And they get suspended. That is in the time of Madame Cornelius. I think I pronounced his name right. Mr. Duke decided he go in and shut down the Mount Hope Hospital, and I had to wait, which was an emergency operation, and wait for 2 weeks. This is what I'm telling you. The methodology of the madness is a big problem in the country. And sometimes you just want to know what is the real ideology of the unions. Is it to shut down the country or to help people, not just workers, but the people who they facilitate?
Right.
Until the mentality goes in the correct way where everybody benefits, we'll never go forward.
But I want to ask a question, Cole. I want to ask a simple question.
Yes, sir.
The person who would have denied you that which is your right in terms of the information, the documentation, that person may be your neighbor, your uncle, your cousin, your friend, your family, or somebody in your village. And why I say that is that we the people tend to do this to we the people and blame everyone else, you know. Because I sure that same person who did that to you have a cousin who went somewhere else to get a document and probably receive a similar treatment from somebody else. But if we as a people, when we go to work, we know what is right and wrong, you know. A union don't have to tell me what to do, to go to work and do my work, you know.
No, I'm not saying the union said...
And when this guy did that, it is just that he himself is being malicious, eh?
But the problem is...
it is so easy to assist you and be happy to assist a fellow man.
The reason why it happens is because there is no consequence. And we see the results of no consequence even right now in the school with violence, where there is no, they took away and removed all the consequences. So now it's anarchy.
The caller is very right. The problem here, and you just always say it, Selvon, the problem here is not necessarily the minister and the politician. The problem is the state. If you're not managing anything properly, we give you all the resources and you're not doing what you're supposed to do and there's no consequences. So you don't have proper performance management systems in place so that when things like these things happen, they could be dealt with expeditiously. When lunchtime comes, people could be managed. The shift could be managed so that someone is always there, so you have a continuity in service all the time. All these things are simple fix. Just employ the right kind of human resource people, management personnel, to be able to do that. Why is this thing?
Well, you're correct. You're correct, because with a very bureaucratic and stratified public service, I mean, we know that there are about 10 people above that worker who could solve that problem.
Exactly.
There are 10 different people, and very often the public is unaware of who to go to get redress. Sometimes I realize even in our culture, for peace sake, that's what we say, we walk away. But in other jurisdictions, they don't walk away. I want to see somebody.
Exactly.
I need to see somebody because I need this problem fixed. So the two things must happen. The colleague's right. We need to find responsible people to lead this change with the trade. But we also must, according to Mr. Mitchell as well, stand up and say that, you know, when my foreign friends visit and they making issues of things and I tell them, hey, there's Trinidad, they say, no, it is not Trinidad. This is wrong. I want service here.
Exactly.
I've done arguing with the worker. Let me see the supervisor. And I'm finished work talking to the supervisor. Let me see the manager. Our culture tells us that he's a trouble by himself. Unlike trouble, he's a trouble man. And things like these persist. But there are enough people with titles in the public service, with very big titles and different pay grade, to solve these issues. They're being paid to supervise and manage these issues.
But it comes back down to one thing.
I'll listen off here. All right.
Okay,
comes back down to one thing, and that is what is the impetus to solve these problems? What is the strategy from the parliament level to straight down? What is the strategy employed to, we know these are problems. People talking about it since I small. Since I little boy I hear and they're talking about the public service and public servant, they're doing what they're supposed to do and all that kind of thing. If that is what is supposed to be driving the country to the new stage of development, what are we doing about fixing it? Making responsible people. What we're trying to do, I want to say, what we're doing is we're trying to double up with contract workers and this and that and that kind of thing to bypass certain systems.
A good example of
that kind of thing. That does make sense.
So we say, we bring revenue authority and we say to, you know, make it more efficient. I don't know the vision behind it. What I'm saying is that changing the name, changing the construct, and they're addressing the behavior doesn't fix the problem.
Correct.
And that's what we keep doing, changing the construct. But remember, a lot of time in organization, as you all would know well, workers go to work in the public service. I remember in one ministry specifically, you know, contractors taking 6 months to get a check and complaining and quarreling and so forth. And in examining that whole process map, from invoice to payment, realize there's half the people in the chain, they know exactly what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to do it and when they're supposed to do it, you know. Again, they come back to management, like you mentioned. We process map that whole payment cycle with the same people, but each one know their role and responsibility when that invoice come, what you do with it. And when you finish with it, what he goes by him and what you have to do and so forth. So at any point in time, there is an issue, you know, at what part along the chain you could go and find where the bugbear is. And we were actually paying contractors in 15 days. But it comes down to putting systems in place, and I go back to, we have everything in place as a country to be successful, you know. We have poor leadership and management that is what killing Trinidad and Tobago, for example. But we're trying to...
Would you say that happens only in public sector, or that's private sector and public
and private? In private sector, I could give some horror stories where private sector have more hustlers in terms of business. We talk the private security industry and so forth, and see the...
I'm going to take this call.
Yeah.
Good evening, caller.
Yeah, good afternoon, gentlemen. Mr. Laokita here.
Yeah.
I mentioned this was that the public service is governed by terms and conditions of employment. Now, the official hours for public servants, working hours for public servants, clerical duties, etc., is from 8 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. That's Monday to Thursday. And Friday, it's 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. There's a lunch. You have a lunch hour can be taken between 11 and 12, or 12 to 1, right? So it's incumbent upon whoever is the administration to ensure that there's a cashier on duty at all times. The head of the supervisor can also act as a permanent clerk one, to perform duties of a cashier. If there is none, whenever the cashier takes a break, it must be a permanent clerk one, because in case of any wrongdoing, right, you can discipline that permanent clerk one. You cannot allow a temporary clerk one to perform that duty. All right, that is one. Right? In terms of the friendly society, I born and met friendly society. And labor was always aligned to friendly societies, because I remember my father working at the weekend, for example, and other people, and the friendly society man will be there collecting his dues on the spot. And if you didn't take that payday, he will come by your home on a weekend and collect the fees. So I see no problem with friendly societies aligned to the Ministry of Labor, because they have a symbiotic arrangement for many, many, many years, long before I was born.
Right? But caller, so you have no problem with the legislation and the construct as it is. What you're saying is that it could be fixed from within.
Well, if it needs to be strengthened, I see no problem with that. What I'm saying, it was always intertwined or interwoven.
Okay,
right?
But my thesis, of course, will be that we really need, we can't build a big, nice, a real nice house on a poor superstructure, on a poor foundation. And I think we need to do a total revision of the bureaucracy and the public service and that kind of thing if we want to move to the next level. Because what you will always have is you will always have protests, you will always have all kind of different problems with people saying that they didn't sign up for this. This is not what it's supposed to be. COVID showed us a lot of things. COVID showed us that people could work from home. COVID showed us that we could use the technology to be able to do certain things. Schools, yes, schools that are perpetually closed today, which I find to be a problem. But the thing is, we need to design strategies so that we could move to the next level with the kind of efficiency and effectiveness for real development. We ain't going nowhere fast in Trinidad and Tobago at all. Minister come, minister go, same thing.
I call myself a change agent because I'm a political analyst by training. and other things. HR, I did HR for a number of years in government, public sector management. HR. What's happening is that we have to understand that we work on that bureaucratic system. Now, our bureaucratic system was let me say, the main proponent was a fellow they called Max Weber, who lived between 1864 and 1925. Now, once you're following a bureaucratic system, because a rigid system, you hardly have way to what they call bob and weave, because it's a strict hierarchical system, right? A government bureaucratic system cannot be run as a public sector organization.
And that's the problem. That's the problem, caller. What we're saying is, we're in a different time. Yep. When the Bible was written, I don't think that they envisaged this time. What I'm saying is, and I don't even want to go there. What I'm saying is, we're in a different time. We have to make laws and fashion the construct to meet with the times that we live in, so that we wouldn't be having this kind of conversation. This is not even philosophy. This is not even a conversation that we should be having. What you say, Ronald?
But let us look at the other side of it. You know, I'd like to look at the other side. Our history, world history, social history has taught us that the change that you prescribe has only happened in certain conditions. One is disaster.
Upheavals.
Revolution. Etc. But the point you were making, and you've made that point consistently, is that we have all of this change with trade and work must be sold based on an ideology.
Yes.
And you have to take time in selling that ideology. As a good CEO will meet with his workers, you know, he might carry them on a little weekend and sell to them why they cannot behave a particular way. Now, he had time with the family, but he would have taken time to sell his vision and mission to his workers, and our captain needs to do the same.
Because he's there. Let me take this call. Good afternoon, caller.
Afternoon. I think one of the problems that I think you talk about revision and what I talk about reform, public service reform.
Hello?
The last time that was attempted probably about more than 25 years ago. 25 years ago by Gordon Draper. But that was just touted around the place because they wanted to give people the step and whatnot from the public service. I didn't think they was very serious about that, about public service reform. Right? The thing about it, you have to have accountability there. You have people who get into the public service. You have people who get into the public service. There's no training. You just, somebody join the public service and they a clerk one, they put them a temporary clerk one and they sit down by a desk and somebody tell them, look, take this file, you're responsible for that file. But then most of these people don't even understand the task at hand. They can't relate to the person who is above them. And that is the problem. So there's no internal training, right? Far less external training. And so people just come and they do sit down and they do what they had to do, or they don't do and they sit down there. There's no, as you said, supervision. You have people who, you don't know who is in charge, who's the supervisor. Some of them just walk out and go. So you need reform there. You need accountability. So it's not just saying, well, look, listen, yes, Weber did in fact spoke about the bureaucracy and whatnot. But the fact remains is that there must be accountability. You have the same public service in England. You have the public service in America, where this guy Elon Musk destroyed. You have them in Canada. You have them all about in the Caribbean. But you must find a way to make them efficient. You have to think in terms of the people who you recruit, the training, what they come with, the skills that they come with, and you have job fit. You can't have, just one example, you have somebody, I went to many offices, NIB, I go to one of these government banks, FCB, State Bank, and I spoke to the person sitting immediately in front of me behind the desk. And I realized this woman was fooling, trying to bamboozle me because she just didn't want, the task at hand would have required some time. And I tell her, hey, listen, where's the supervisor? I want to speak with the supervisor.
Correct.
And she went behind the supervisor, nowhere, yes, she's not seeing what is happening. Nobody's overseeing those people, what they're doing at the front. The week before I went there, a guy said, well, listen, I came here and I wanted to get something changed. I'm a poor man. She tell him she can't do it. He come back and he tell her, well, look, after he went to another bank, he said, I went to this branch, just come to tell her, you know, and I had it done in less than no time. So the question here has to do with a number of things that must be done. But the question, nobody's supervising those people at the lower level.
Correct.
And there's apparently no accountability.
Correct. And Caller, the supervisor and all has a supervisor. So it's a really tiered system.
So you need, I think they need to look at that seriously.
Yes.
Right? And it's frustrating, but trade unions, as a matter of fact, they do complain. And when I say complain, if you talk to the person, when you talk to the person, you see the person this, and the fact people are being paid to work and they must work.
Right. So what I think should be happening is that every aspect of governance, every aspect of service in governance, the public should be seen as clients.
Yes.
And therefore, if you lose your client, you lose money.
Yes.
And therefore, that should be the mindset. And I'm saying that the batsman in office, along with his colleagues, that is how they should be squaring off as to how they should bat.
Go Lieber with him, eh?
Right?
Lieber on the bowling side, eh?
Simple way. If you talk about loss of money and whatnot, loss of productivity, if a man goes to the bank and he has to come back 3 and 4 times because you have the clerk who doesn't attend to him, right, with any sort of expediency, and he goes away, he has to leave his job, wherever he works, in some factory or some whatever it is. That's a loss of productivity.
Correct.
And you put that in a national context. Right? So the fact remains is that it affects productivity, not just the businessman who has to come to get some certificate or get some form or get some whatever it is, but even at the level of the ordinary man who had to leave the bakery, had to leave the KFC and all these different things to go to get a service at these government departments. It affects productivity.
Well, Caller, you are alluding to a deep sense of nationalism.
Yeah.
And you don't born with that. 2, when you quote unquote get a government work, nobody tells you that you get a work and you just get a work. So how do we get those ethics, those values into the public?
Watch out. No, he answered the question, you know, Caller, you answered the question, you know. We hire someone in the public service and we ask what level of training and retraining in terms of quality management systems and so forth they went through. And so forth, we don't do that. You have 5 O-levels or wider degree and we put you use the A1 now, what have you. And you go down the road. No life skill training, no self-development training, no quality control training, no quality management training, nothing. I would expect you to function in a service environment.
And even with that, you should be able to demonstrate that in some kind of setting that you understand those principles and you understand the importance of doing that, which is why I always say that every organization, every ministry should have a strategy, and that strategy should come from a collective vision and a mission and a strategic objective.
Yes.
And every person comes and hold a position inside there. That incumbent must understand what are the needs of the vision and why we need to do this as opposed to doing that. So everybody must be singing the same song all the time.
That's a we vision. Yeah. Which is different from them. Workers normally have a them vision. Them in here.
Yeah.
Them.
What has made the thing much more complex is that you're recruiting people on contract.
Yes.
And you have people with tenure, permanence, and whatnot. So
yes.
you create a problem within those departments.
Correct.
Well, the contract thing to me is a lazy way of trying to solve a problem. Eh? Feel well, I can't control them public servants and them and so forth. So let me get some people on contract that I could control. So if they do what I say and so forth, but really and truly, is the retooling of the people that we employ in these agencies. For example, that one state agency, I wouldn't call the name because they, watch that, let me put it out there. People outside their businesses, state agents, only want us to mention you all. Pay for some ads now. I will mention you all doing some good work outside there, but let people know they're doing good work. We are room for ads on this program. So here what this agency do, this organization. You see, when you go in, good morning, can we assist you, everything? Or you go to this counter. When you leave in, how was your service? Did you get through everything okay and so forth? Because you have a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that when you come by us, you get 100% service.
I hear a song plenty like Alexander, but
I ain't fixing nothing.
Well, as draconian as it sounds, employment at will has its advantages.
Yeah.
Because we know in other places those are easy problems to solve. You have to perform, and you are replaceable immediately.
No, but I will put a plug down. I've worked with public servants before, and from my standpoint, I'm sure you have worked with some too. They're willing to work, you know. They come to work, they're normal people, they're willing to work.
But they have to be led.
They have to be led.
Correct. Let me take this call.
So.
Mr. President.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Selvon. Good afternoon, Mr. Stephen. Good afternoon, Mr. Rovaldo. And good afternoon. Yeah, and good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago.
Good afternoon.
I only had his names a few days, so you know, I see all on the screen weekend because I went in and on the internet and I see all this down there and all the talking. So I see the bullet one in the center. I see the next one with a balloon shoot on the next side, and the next one that I fall up kind of jersey on the next. So I see all you. I make out all you somewhere around the ages of about somewhere down 30 to 40 or maybe 50 could be an or two. Anyway, I see all you. So I could link. And today now, I hear all you come in with trade. Not labor, but labor right there too. In.
Yes.
Because and labor in the center.
You're on the bowling side, you're on the bowling end right now. You're on the bowling end. You're on the bowling end, labor on the bowling end.
Yeah, but although you're on the bowling end, if you're talking commerce and you're talking, well, trade will be slightly different, and also it's going to be a link because we have to recognize that trade and commerce working, so labor right there. Now, what we're talking there now is how serious productivity really is.
Good.
Right. And in so that we're talking about the ministries, which you know that is my pet piece, but I ain't going to go clean down in it yet. I will talk about the ministries in the sense of how all you're talking there, of getting the public servants and them to be much more productive, and even in so doing to getting the ministries and them to be more in order. Because why are we bringing the ministries as a pet piece? It's because there's where most of the problem is not so much the parliaments and them things. We could deal with the parliaments and then once we dealing with the ministries. And because look, and as well as say bringing in the 12, that 12 will be there to link with the ministries as executives, and the people that the pavilion, will know exactly what's going on, so we could deal with ministries in the same side, like I always said just now, that plenty people don't know what's going on in ministry, so sometimes there's a thing you turn back. Because you're in your own tribe within the 12, you're getting to know exactly what in the ministries, and out here now we're passing on messages to one another. It's a big network, but people are ready for that yet because of that same bureaucratic attitude we live with, and that bureaucratic, when we say what reconstruct, we have to reconstruct that, because if we don't, we will find ourselves in the slave attitude under the democracy, under the ministries, and under the masses who control all that. So, what I like me now, with brothers like all you who have the wherewithal up there, now I have a common sense here that I could simulate and I could equate. But because I could do that, what making me able to understand plenty of these things, putting things in equal position and simulating different things that could set together and put together. Take for instance, like when you say you put in certain portfolios in certain ministries. There are simulation that you could put into ministry of certain portfolios, and you get that set of portfolios do within the ministry, and all of us have to know that. So it's a whole long process that we have to talk about to get that whole process. All right, so I want to slip from there and show you where all of that will come in the trade relation in dealing with free trade, the free ease to doing business. It will come in with free trading because we have to find some way to cross disease easier and stop having we getting blocked and have to go in England and all them places to reach Africa and all that. Total link with Africa we have to have. And I will end it by saying in this position I was talking about the global answers. And then we still have to be dealing with the African Bank, which we don't need to do that under the Pan-African movement, because that is a movement that's growing, and we should get into that because that basically is the African Bank.
All right.
So it have a lot of things to talk about, but it can't be talk on radio. Am I right? Me could have some kind of thing in all your conversation.
So,
all right.
It will come in handy.
Excellent contribution.
Yeah. Excellent contribution. Yeah, so at the end of the day, this particular batsman, or these two particular batsmen, had to work hand in hand to make this happen.
Yeah.
Now, I can't remember Trinidad and Tobago ever in a sticky situation as it is in now without even realizing it. What do you think?
Why so we in a stick? Let me tell you something, eh? This situation we're in is so peculiar because 80% of the things that we need to survive, we have to import, you know.
Correct.
You understand? We have never we have moved away from being self-sufficient in a number of ways. That anything that's happened outside there, you said, if a man catch a sneeze, we catch a cold down here. The fact that we have shut down our sugar industry, the steel industry, the Caroni Greens, the Buffalo industry, petrochemical, we have shut down basically everything and structured the economy to be important. Yeah? Anything that happens outside there, because you know, once a war starts, the first thing what countries start doing is hoarding. So once they start hoarding fuel, and they start hoarding, it's less for us, you know.
Exactly. So it's demand and supply, and less resources, more people wanting it. Yeah, price going up, and then internally now you have inflation because the price of things will go up.
The impact of that is crime and everything negative going on. It's a rippling downward effect. If the two batsmen in place to deal with the critical thing, one dealing with our human resource capital and how we structure our human resource capital to be efficient, and the other one to create an enabling environment for business to thrive and so forth. We have, in short space of time, we in this country have to do.
Well, the two batsmen have a task ahead, especially the batsman facing. He has to be careful not to play any loose shots and get out. But he also has to be able to put away the bad ball and take advantage of the bad ball. And that's a real call. It's a call ball by ball. He has to watch it carefully. Because you can't stay in the wicket all the time defending. You will go nowhere, the team will go nowhere.
So far they look like they're defending.
Well, they're being cautious, I guess. They're watching the pitch and they're watching the rain. Because if it's Duckworth Lewis, we might be behind.
Yeah.
It might call for some boundaries. You understand? But you have to, because even in the issues we talk about globally, there will be opportunities to make money and to reap good. Yeah. However, we have to be in the position to do it. We have to be in the position to do it. So this oil and gas issue that may come about could play to our advantage.
See, for so long we make oil and gas like the cocaine, boy. it's difficult. We forego everything else.
Yes.
Right? So we didn't diversify. We didn't do certain things. In fact, we destroy certain economy. We have fixed with transportation system. We have nothing.
Agriculture sector we destroyed. We never focus on it.
Everything.
Really
so now
our transportation system.
We in a real sticky position now because now everything we had imported and now look what's going to happen now.
Yeah, and remember we just made promises to labor. But now the economics of it is telling us a different story.
Exactly.
We know we're going in there, we've seen what the Treasury don't have. But we said things before, okay, they say we will borrow, but borrowers come with payback. And who is going to pay back for our borrowings, our present borrowings? Who is going to pay back? The next generation?
Because here one of the grandchildren that will start happening, fuel price will go up in the international market.
Correct.
We import all our fuel now. We import all, so it's costing this government more to run this country, in terms of just importation of fuel only. Food will go up because once shipping go up, everything goes up.
Everything goes up.
So the cost of living in this country will go. There's that 10% may really be 1%. When you look at what they would lose with the shift that is taking place, really and truly. So
now the data showing with the close of the Strait of Hormuz,
25% one time.
25 to 50% almost immediately.
Shipping already went up by 35%, bro, last week.
Right? And that is without any negotiation or anything. I think Iran Council voted almost unanimously to close it today.
Yeah.
So it means that other things could follow. Then the war could escalate. Right? Israel seemed not to be given up. Israel seemed to have, I would call, I don't want to say, but their leadership seemed to be infantile in terms of how they're thinking. Right? You can use poison to kill poison. You can say, well, we're going to have a war to stop to prevent a war. That ain't making no sense. What I'm doing ain't making no sense in my opinion. They're destabilizing the whole world, and I don't know how America and Europe probably not seen it.
Well, again, all this underscores is what you've been saying already. How strong an ideology is and how poor it is not to have an ideology. And going forward, for this match to play out right, we must be driven by more than just economics. Because the economics ain't looking too good.
Yeah, we have my data too.
So the captain and the team has to sell. They have to talk to the 12th man. They have to talk to the 12th man and say, listen, this is what's going on. I know you come to see 6 and 4, but it's not a T20.
So the conversation really have to be, you see, normally, as the guy was saying, the people sit by, we vote in government and then go and lie down, and hope the government will do everything.
I hope the government will fix everything.
And don't realize we have a role to play. We have a role to play, really and truly. So when we vote in and we say, all right, this team win, and we just lapse back, and we feel everything will be funky-dory now because they have a majority now and so forth. It don't work like that. It is all hands on deck, and this is why country, let me tell you something. I always say it, and you always hear me saying it, Matty. If we the people don't do right by we the people, we fail, I give this analysis all the time. We have changed about 10 executives because I don't call the team that's batting or bowling government. I call them the executive, as they truly are, the executive. If we check from Eric William, Chambers, Robinson, Manning, Pandey, and we come down the line, we have changed all these executives. 9 executives. I think we're on the 9th executive now that we have changed. Yeah? And we in the same morass or worse off. The question is the executive the problem or what is concerned in this whole thing? Is this construct of the state that is concerned, And nobody not addressing look, the guy mentioned the public service regulation and guideline and so forth. But that have been so how long? And we have not addressed it.
Correct.
So we are addressing, we changing government, we change Manning, we put Pandey, we put the critical thing to change is the construct of the state.
Right, and remember we said the last day, somehow people just don't understand. People expectations are misguided, one, and their understanding of governance of this country, in a democratic country like this country, is somewhat misguided also, because you blame the government for things, and they cause it too. The government usually cause it too.
Well, I know what
they jump out in front like this. I know what to add. They sell it like they're in charge.
I know what to add that to you, Matheson, because take for instance, I heard the former captain of the team that is now feeling said, wean yourself out of government. Too much people want gimme. But we taught the people dependency.
Exactly.
And dependency was politically.
Exactly. It was a political thing. When I get in office, I pack Duasa.
Correct.
I pack Petrotrin.
All those
all that kind of thing.
programs.
Now we it coming back to bite you, and we even understand that is what cause it.
So to tell somebody, don't ask what the state could do for you. You could say that where you sit. But I can tell you about my family. You know, for instance, just give me an example. Not my personal family, but workers will tell you that my whole family work dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're proud.
All of we work corporation. Good. So there's that expectancy that patronage will continue.
Yes.
And that is taught behavior. That is taught. They have that in generations in certain communities and certain political constituencies. You teach people that.
You know, I listened to a conversation by a lady, and what she was saying, when we vote a particular way, because when we vote this government, we don't have a problem in our constituency. I say, well, government is for the country, not for constituency. So they're happy to keep voting this way because they like how they live in.
Not even understanding that the people who are voting are even telling you the truth about what they could do and what they can't.
Exactly.
You understand? So, because at the end of the day, the state, as we always say, would be the ones that will always be in office.
Yeah. And that is the construct.
Election, come on, election go.
They're always there and nobody's taking time to fix that.
If your group that you're voting for doesn't have a deep-seated understanding of creating a philosophy for the country, like Lee Kuan Yew did when he went to Singapore, then we were going to have a problem, and it must be a nationalistic thing, it must be a personal thing, it must be a red or a yellow thing.
Because you might find that, as you say that, people who that the executive depend on in the state for the execution of the vision, right? Me say, me doing that now, why I PNM or I UNC or I COP, and you supporting them again.
I hear for years.
And then realize it's the country that suffers, not the executive.
Exactly.
And so forth.
They always say the paying public does get tied up in the circus, because we get to feel, we somehow feel that the batting side and the feeling side are enemies. The 12th man get tied up in that.
But it is painted like that, you know, because at the end of the
easy to sell.
Listen, let me cut through the chase.
Yes.
My thing is, if all of them come together with a national kind of feeling and nationalistic view and come together and say, listen, let me brainstorm this thing.
Yeah.
Right? This is what needs to be done, this is what needs to be done, let me come together and do it.
Yeah. And constructive criticism, because
but you wanted...
You hinted at the fact that they have 2 female captains now. And that should give...
And a female empire.
Correct. And that should give some premise for some thought of collaboration. You know, we men does hold grudge. Competition is ending blood for some of us.
But still have some strong men on both sides, you know.
That is true. That is true. It have some strong men. And we still hearing locker room talk. We still hearing talk from the pavilion. Who didn't want to bat and who should have bat left and who should have bat right.
Still have plenty of that.
We still playing the microphone still on in the pavilion. Good.
It's not in the pavilion. Well, it resonated in the pavilion, but it's all in the changing room.
It's coming through the field. We hear a lot of locker room talk.
The implosion. Boy, you should have bat so. If he did bat so, if he did pick this one.
I didn't want to bat. And they had a...
Who get Kobo Sweat?
Yeah. And the
who ain't get Kobo Sweat?
In preparation for the next time, they had elections. So we will hear more about that. But right now they're the field inside and the batting side, the batting captain has the duty. And I know it's not easy. Let us not, the former captain, deceased, told us that this is not an easy wicket. Mr. Manning said this is not an easy wicket. Good? This is not an easy place.
I feel as this captain who's batting now have labor on the team, it might give the opportunity to really reconstruct or realign or redefine roles and responsibility. Yeah?
So they could be hard, them labor people ain't easy,
No.
They have expectations,
What I'm saying, I don't know what they talk in the locker room before they come outside.
You seen them.
Yeah, they come with expectations. They have the basket waiting on cell phone.
I don't know how, and you think about it, the school of thought supposed to, and it says something last time, Madison, about this lecturer in Cipriani. And his thought process showed me that is the lecturers are dinosaurs, really and truly.
Which one?
Who tell you about union, what union have to do and so forth. They're supposed to be lecturing or giving the level of tutelage to start changing the ideology.
Yeah, we need progressive trade unionism. Correct.
Of Cipriani and IWER and so forth in labor relation,
Well, the evidence doesn't suggest that, though.
Training and the thinking supposed to be modern day in.
You just say something, Selvan, what? We need what?
Division?
Yeah. No, you. What you say we need? We need progressive thinking and labor.
We need progressive trade unionism. We need progressive trade unionism.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's a whole concept and ideology of its own.
The level of tutelage must start. Where it starts from, you go and you learn that there and so forth.
Yeah, where do you learn progressive trade unionism?
But then some of these guys will go to Cuba or Russia or somewhere and they do classes and come back in a capitalist society and try to fit that agenda in this sense.
No, but even don't get tired up, them places communist as you think it is, they more democrat, they more capitalist than China and all these places are capitalist environment.
But it has to do with our school of learnings on a whole, because IWER has its role too, even though they may not do labor in that sense, and UTT, our whole idea and philosophy, as you were saying about, must change.
It's regressive, it's repetitive,
and the captain has the task.
And no real forward thinking and so forth in the training of the people coming out of these institutions, because I'm not seeing the fact that I always say we have 200,000 people with tertiary level education, but the economy doesn't reflect that in its true sense. Give some food.
Drinks break, gentlemen.
So gentlemen, we will be leaving shortly to go and pay some bills, and we will join you after. We want you to join us in bringing this thing home.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
Don't miss June savings at Furniture Plus. Get up to 50% off shop appliances, furniture, electronics, mattresses, and more. Buy now, pay later with affordable hire purchase plans. Plus, earn Caribbean Airlines. Travel miles with your purchase. Visit any Furniture Plus stores or shop online.
Are you tired of scratching the surface? Do you want to understand the real forces shaping Trinidad and Tobago? From the delicate dance of our energy sector on the global stage, to the geopolitical shadows behind the crime affecting our streets, we dig deeper. The third umpire goes beyond the headlines. We connect the dots between local challenges and the international currents that truly impact your life, your wallet, your security. Join Stephen Matheson, Selvin Mitchell, and Ronaldo Rollux, 3 employment law and human resource management consulting professionals, as they unpack the complexities, analyze the power plays, and reveal the often hidden realities. Understand the game. Understand your role in it. The third umpire, critically analyzing Trinidad and Tobago's economic and political realities on how they affect your daily lives. Tune in Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. on the Street 919 FM. Don't just listen to the news. Understand it.
Planning your Tobago getaway? Choose the highest Google-rated car rental company on the island, O'Neill Auto Rentals Tobago. Located just minutes from the A&R Robinson International Airport, at O'Neill, we pride ourselves on being the most tech-savvy car rental company in Tobago. Our process is 100% digital. No paperwork, no long lines. From easy pickup to seamless returns, renting a car in Tobago has never been simpler. WhatsApp us now at 1-868-361-1042 to book your vehicle. Don't forget to mention promo code RADIO2 to receive a 5% discount on your rental. Send a WhatsApp message to 1-868-361-1042 today. That's 1-868-361-1042. O'Neill Auto Rentals Tobago, the easiest, most reliable car rental experience on the island.
Vehicle availability is subject to change. Driver must be at least 25 years old and have a valid driver's license to book. For more information, visit www.rentalcartobago.com.
The Gap Man Limited specializes in products that cater to all your health needs. The Male Enhancement Package targets the areas of the body that contribute to erectile dysfunction. The Male Enhancements cost $1,400. The Gap pills are priced at 250 pills for $500 and 500 pills for just $900. For the best in eye care, get the super combination of a Super Bright and the Body Healer. To improve the heart's function and circulation, get the Gap pills and Formula C. To get a total body cleanse daily, use the Gap Body Healer and Big C, all for a super low price of $1,300. To order your products from the Gap Man Limited, call 628-4531 for products that cater to all your health needs.
For more info, contact 476-7268.
Welcome to Pizza Hut.
Hi, can I get a medium pepper?
Here you go.
Oh, wow. How did you...
It's Pizza Hut's Hot to Go. So you get taste, quality, and speed all in one go.
And I can get...
one medium hot to go for $89 or two medium hot to go for $169 in pepperoni, Hawaiian, and veg, Monday to Friday.
Can you
get your girlfriend to forgive you as fast as our hot to go pizza? No, sir.
Come in and try our hot to go specials today at locations nationwide. Pizza Hut. Now that's delivering.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Yes, listen. We are back on.
Now, you know, people, you had this conversation once, Marty, on the air, where, and there's a concept, philosophy that I embodies also, that a government is really a company. It might have a different construct, but its philosophy is really a company. And in companies, what I do, and government's supposed to be doing it too. And when I say government, we talk the legislature, we talk the judiciary, we talk the executive, and so forth. Three arms, right? Every quarter or so you do a pestle analysis, yeah, because the world is changing. For example, we had COVID, now we have a war, and these things impact on your business, it impact on your country. So there must be an evaluation on how you adjust, yeah, your policies, your philosophy, your trading rules and regulation, your laws and so forth, too. Because during COVID we had to change some laws, you know, we had to bring in some new laws and new regulation during COVID. Likewise, if there's this thing breakout, we must have a huddle to see and do an evaluation. How would this impact us? What moves and adjustment we have to make in the economy, and where we're supposed to focus, for example, trade now. Yeah? Because can we look to the Middle East for a product? What will it cost? What do I get from the Middle East? Do I get oil from the Middle East? Could I get it from somewhere else, as the case may be? The trading route in terms of ships and so forth will be impacted. Could I get product from a next place in terms of direct flights and so forth? All of this analysis must be done, just like in a business. Yeah? In terms of the efficacy and what impedes our productivity, we must examine that. And if we recognize that the training and retooling of the state personnel is what is needed. The conversation with labor, yeah, and capital, or labor and the state, must take place to retool, yeah, in an evolving environment. It is evolving, so because now we have AI. Because I find some managers don't need secretary no more. I saw something advertised where you can have a board meeting, and if the board meeting is recorded, you can get the minutes of the board meeting, press a button, you get the minutes of the board meeting, so nobody taking minutes no more. So the whole economy and the whole global platform is changing every day, and so too is a country and its policies and its public service. Really and truly, how do I re-engage, realign these persons to be more productive in different areas as we realign the economy to be successful, as the case will be? We can't do what we were doing 40 years ago today and expect success, really and truly. We're shooting ourselves in the foot. Go, brother, relax.
Well, in an environment of low trust, where labor is skeptical of the state and the state is more skeptical of labor, we really need to hurdle that.
Yeah.
The state must be held accountable for what they're supposed to do in their role, and labor must also do the same. But when you have two people watching each other cocky eye with hands behind their back, it's really hard to get these ideologies as you express of going forward. You know, and we say all of this in the context of the captain. She has a vision to sell to the country, and not just the country, not just her ministers, to the workers. And that vision must be clear and communicated to all. And you know the downside of that. While she's telling some to tighten the belt, some people can't be getting fat.
I agree. But today we are looking at the two batsmen.
Right.
And the interchangeably in the wicket.
Yes.
Right? And what I'm hoping also to hear from the umpires is what did they meet, one, and what can they do, not just to augment what they meet, but what can they do as nuts and bolts, because I like solutions, nuts and bolts, to solve the immediate situation. What do you think are some short-term things that these batsmen could do to put some runs on the board?
Keep your word. Keep your word. And I think the present captain, she has been indicating that whatsoever the consequence or the context, she will keep her word.
Okay.
And she understands trust.
Okay, so when you keep your word, what will happen if things, if we can't pay? I mean, at the end of the month, we get money to pay.
Well, she said that the state will do what they have to do to honor the promises. But she also said, we read it in the last show, two hands, let's clap. She said that. So she hinted that labor and workers will be asked in some form or fashion, again, because we hear that the last 10 years as well, to be a little more responsible and more participative in bringing about the changes. It can't just be gimme, gimme, gimme. She explained that it can't be one hand. And as I was telling Selvon, the fortunate, or however we want to say, partnership with labor comes with high expectations. Right. Labor didn't join for a bus ride.
So what is, I want to take you down this road. So what is doing your part? Because one will say, pay them the more money, do what thing in this global situation, but things get more expensive. It may not worth anything down the road very soon because of inflation. But in any case, when people get money, they spend it. And that could create more problems. I mean, think about it. In terms of demand, you have scarce resources, you know, things get more expensive, inflation, you know, that kind of thing. I just see the natural progression of things with money in the system.
Well, I am not fearful of what the workers or the people will do with their money. To me, to each his own. What the captain has to ensure is that with the money comes the productivity.
Okay.
That is the robbery. If the state does all of this and still 12 o'clock you're going to cash a check in customs, or you're going to pay a bill or whatever, you know, just different scenarios, and you can't find somebody, that will be the tragedy. That will be the tragedy.
Well, I will start with this. We keep asking of people to deliver. Correct. And we never ask ourselves, have we trained them to deliver? We asking for, we demanding of you, but you can only give what you have.
Yeah.
And if I have not been trained or prepared to deliver the quality of service that is expected of me, then don't blame me. I just a fella who went to school, I get some subjects and so forth, and I come for a walk because I want to buy a car and a little apartment. Be time but serve the man and he think and be compassionate. Correct. And show empathy. That didn't teach me in school. They tell me get some subject, I'll get a walk, I'll buy my car, get a little apartment, pulling 2 birds every so often and so forth.
So then what is the solution then?
The solution is training and retraining. We need to. When last the public service really went on any quality management training in terms of service type training and so forth? When last? But we demanding the whole economic sphere is changing in terms of the work environment and the economic environment globally.
So you telling them to do something that they could have done or should have done when they had plenty money. Now they have no money, you tell them to do something that would be very expensive. I'm just saying. No, sometimes we have to do it. The last of that money, you have to take it and dump it in some investment to get a good return, because if you do nothing with it, you're going to end up with nothing. You have the juncture now where you have no, let me put it this way, we have no choice because the only thing that can turn us around, you see, if we just get a windfall, we'll lose it, you know, because we're ill prepared for it. So we had to start retooling the whole economy, yeah, the whole people movement to think differently, and how we as a people turn around this economy. We have a role to play. Train me to do mine effectively while you do yours. But don't you do yours, me train to do mine, and then you're complaining. But you're working good, but you never train me to work good.
Mr. Matheson is an HR professional. And Mr. Matheson understands when recruitment goes bad, how all other 9 things, when you get in there.
And I'm saying that based on one philosophy, you know, only one philosophy, you know, that we have changed executive about 9 times in 63 years, or how much years? 9 times we changed executive and we still any morass. And the question is, one area we have focused our attention on is to keep people responsible for delivery. We haven't invested in developing in that critical asset. Really and truly. We haven't invested in it.
Even the batsmen.
That human resource capital that we have to be retrained, retooled, because, you know, the first salvo from the umpires spoke to training and schooling and development and so forth, how it have failed us. Yet the people who came out of this failed system, you all want to use them to turn around the economy.
Well, Mr. Selvon, we realize even for the batsmen themselves, we have changed, as you say, executives. But how we recruit batsmen, how they make the team, that's the next issue.
What?
Because on the 2 sides,
but
we have people, we don't know how they make the team. You know?
Here what going on. I like you say that. Well, sir, you have batsmen batting, right?
Yeah.
Fielders bowling.
Yeah.
So that is the 9. 9 times we're coming. But here what's going on with them fellas. Who's supposed to roll the field? Them dig hole in it. They cut the grass too good. So when the men in the wicket get ball in the head and ball rolling all over, we say they are good. But we never roll the field, we never wet the grass, we never paint the line properly. Instead of 3 stump, 2 stump tall, 1 stump short, all kind of thing. And then when the man out now, we say he can't bat. But so, we never prepare the pitch.
I want to ask Mr. Matheson, which is worse, a batsman who can't bat or a bowler who can't bowl?
Or what about the fieldsman who didn't fix the ground properly?
A man feeling and he can't catch. You just talk about capacity. He can't catch, but he got a catching position and a catching job. He gets some big work. You understand? First past the post, he wins some elections, some kind of thing. And we have great expectation of him. But just like the worker who is beyond his capacity, we have to really say from throughout our society how we recruit some of these people.
Well, basic HR 101 will tell you, if recruitment, you recruit on the basis of a strategy.
Correct.
Good. So if your recruitment is bad, more than likely everything else will be bad. But I mean, you can fix it if you have an inherent, you have something that you inherited, you can fix it.
Yes.
And how you fix it is good onboarding, good training, good coaching, good mentorship, good HRD, the human resource development.
Yeah.
So you have to find ways, creative ways to develop your human resource. And if you aren't able to do that, then the place where it started, you will end there.
Beautiful.
Correct.
If you ended with bad recruitment, you will end with bad everything else.
Good.
Because some players develop over time.
So then the man on the bowling end now, we are single now thing there, you know, they don't run a single, so he back in the wicket now, eh? So Labour back in the wicket because trade hit a single.
Yeah.
So he have to develop that human resource.
You see, as we would have said very early in the game, that productivity should be more important to Ministry of Labour than anything else. Because that is what will drive us, move us from where we are to the next level. Amidst everything else, productivity have to be on point. And
You're right.
all the things the callers talk about, places like customs and thing, lunchtime, you can't get a thing because they're closed for lunch while you sit down waiting, losing productivity hours. You're losing hours from your work because somebody else working lunchtime, or they send you back because they don't take cash or they don't take card. All them crazy, and you had to come with exact change in a world where we dealing with digital. You had to come with exact change and all them kind of nonsense. That is long. That 1962.
So a bandit could wait for you outside of customs. On your way to customs, a man could wait for you.
That 1962.
Because he know you're going with cash.
And we're still evolving that now. To show how critical the human resource capital is and the training and retooling. That was one of the key pillars of Singapore turnaround, you know. Because they had no oil and gas and so forth, you know, they develop what? Their human capital.
Human capital.
Right?
Human capital development.
So if we, as the labor and trade, they need each other, they bat together and so forth. And if labor focus on, with public administration who embodies and embrace that whole sector, that development of that human capital, but also in the private sector too. They were limited to the government service in the private sector too. Developing human capital and so forth. In a real way, we could be a solid model country and so forth. Do all adversities. I mean, if you go back, when I read Lee Kuan Yew book and so forth, and when you look at the condition, the level of, we feel we have racism in Trinidad.
They had the same problem. They had worse. Yeah. I remember Lee Kuan Yew say, where you are, we can't do what you do. We do what we have to do where we are.
The level of racism, the condition, the working condition, the tribalism and so forth that were affecting the progress of Singapore.
No, according to Philip Alexander, they move more container in a few hours than we move in a year.
Yeah. And all they did was focus on that human capital development with a buy-in of how you would benefit after we develop this human capital.
That is everything.
All of us will benefit.
That's everything.
You must know, I ain't going in it. I want to watch now Axel Kabaya bread.
That is that is everything.
When I develop this, how you would benefit. And there must be that person that says, and now the captain now, the batting team had to sell to them, you know.
But that's why it's all about trust.
And that's why I like her slogan getting in office. When the Yellow Party win, everybody wins. Because you have to understand, even though they didn't vote for you, that they winning is of direct. They winning. Everybody winning, even those who didn't vote for you, is a positive for you, right? It will help you.
Yep.
Because they will assist in billing.
Everybody wins.
Yeah, they will assist in billing, billing all the country in a certain kind of way. And
was it similar to the Let's Go Down the Road Together?
That was something in Ghana. That was something in Ghana or something.
That was here. in some elections ago.
Let's go down the road.
Well, no, we didn't go down the road together, so maybe I forget it. You know? But yeah, at the end of the day, brothers.
So it's not hard fix.
At the end of the day, listen, you see it, you and Alwa and I just came from court.
Okay.
We had a matter this evening, and we see it every day. Most of the time, you have problems with disputes in the court. It stemmed from bad HR.
Yeah.
It started there. You wasn't managing your resources good.
Ego.
In any way you should have been managing it, and it ended up in a dispute.
Tell me something. The man in the wicket now, Minister of Labour, he's on the batting end now. I don't know the construct of the Ministry of Labour in terms of, I know they will understand industrial relations, but is there a large cadre of HR professionals in the ministry and so forth for proper guidance
I don't know. I don't know how it is configure the thing, and you know.
Yeah.
Because it's not so much you see, even in places like the Ministry of Labour, they would have the people we would interact with is the conciliation division,
which is Labour people,
and they really negotiators. They really there to negotiate your way out of the court, right? Which they don't usually be very successful with, again, because of the legislation. Some things have to change, right, for things to get better. But no fault of theirs. Again, it has everything to do with the state and how they manage the resources and how they see the importance of change in the system and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, everything, it has to be a holistic thing. It has to be something that emanates from the top level with everything. Every single ministry should have a mandate to fix these things.
But you know, we have, this is what I was saying earlier, all the systems we have in the Bureau standard that we have in Trinidad also deal with systems in organizations, you know, in terms of from ISO certification, all kind of thing, you know. The Bureau, so we have structured an economy to really be successful, you know. And just like, I know, like everybody just fall down on the job or something like that, you know. And why are we not looking at the processes and ministries for efficiency? Why do you look at the training and the retooling of our ministries and so forth, our personnel and so forth, when we have agencies with that remit to do? And so forth. I remember one ministry we started having meeting with Bureau Standard relative to policy and policy guidelines and certifications and so forth, in terms of how we do things and how we can do it better and more efficiently. So we have ministries, we have agencies to do that. Are we using it? Well, the question is, does the people who run ministries know where they exist and why they exist? And that is the challenge we have, really and truly.
Well, the two batsmen in the wicket have to trust each other. Because if you don't trust each other, somebody going to get run out. Yeah. When I say run and one say stay, we see it all the time on the field of play.
Yeah.
And it is because that communication not there. Sometimes you trying to make your half a century. You ain't studying that you should not have run. So you call and you allow the other person, because they're going to the throwing end, they get run out.
Yeah.
They get run out. So the communication between labor and trade
must be in sync.
Must be in sync.
Yeah.
Because all the dreams of all this turn around, the Minister of Labor has the hard task, after the captain who has all the overarching responsibility, to sell this to workers.
Yes.
And understand the history of workers. We went through that last week on June 19th.
Yeah.
But some of it still exists. Remember, at the end of the day, we have said, Stephen, that we have 90% of workers who are not unionized.
Yeah.
So unions, as much as you see them, only cover about 10 or 15% of workers. The others have to be accounted for. So ask yourself this: how do they get redress?
Mm-hmm.
How do they get, recognition?
And then you hear a lot, those so-called existing old trade unions talk about they need to be on board, they need this and that. But they're talking about a small percentage of the...
They're talking about themselves, correct?
Yeah, about themselves. And that, to me, is unfortunate.
Yes.
And not only unfortunate, but you see, the thing is, logic. Logic is a thing
there's usually die on the altar of ignorance. You know?
True.
People not knowing or not understanding the need to do certain things. And to a large extent, you're not seeing it. You're not seeing that certain things are, certain statements, certain ideas. You're not seeing the logic in it. You're not seeing the critical thinking. You're not seeing where they're going or where they want to go, and that to me is unfortunate.
Well, again, I go back to a foundation question you say now. Should every ministry have a vision and mission statement, so to keep everybody in line with what our outcome or the outcome we're looking for?
Well, only to the extent that there was...
There's an idea I'm playing around with. There's an
only
idea.
to the extent that there was a broad philosophy by the guiding party or whatever to do certain things. So a vision and mission in every ministry will something cascade down to the ministry, and then that kind of thing based on what they are, their function, what they should be doing.
Good.
Right? Or what they are mandated to do, or what they're trying to solve as a ministry.
Yeah.
So, but broadly, the party itself should have
overarching vision,
overarching vision and strategy and philosophy for the country, not for the party. I'm talking about for the country.
Yes, that's country.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is why I think that
so this is why I go back. At one point in time, we had something called the 5 pillars of development and so forth, in which, if these pillars are developed, we'll have what we call developed country status, as the case may be. Yeah. So, which means there was a vision to achieve an overarching vision for the country to achieve something in a particular time, like any organization. Yeah. So it was viewed as a business to some extent, and measurements were put in place to achieve an objective, like a sales target, at a certain point in time, as the case may be.
Do we have any calls?
Yeah. So what we really have to look at to a large extent, a minister, I know how effective they are. These 2 batsmen, for example, must be able to sell to their team or their supporters in the pavilion,
in the 12, yes,
a vision of what they want to accomplish.
I've seen Mr. President calling back. Let me give him 2 minutes again. Mr. President.
Yeah. You know, I'm not calling earlier. I'm only looking to talk about if you have any call. But I'm not watching all your phone now. You're talking long, and it has so much nice little talk and to question all you, like such as that talk all you're talking about the human resource. That, if I say now and I listening good, that is the real thing, because that covering productivity, it covering creativity, because when you're looking into labor and productivity, trade, relation, and an effective creative commerce. So when you're going to go in all them, you come to realize that the truth is that the pavilion is being left out of the economical growth of the country. And it is left out not only by money, it is left out also by education. And if that is to continue with us as the pavilion, and look at it, for instance, all you're talking there, and only really talking about the batsmen and the fieldmen, but in real, I have no solution of how you will put the pavilion in the whole course of things, although you may be calling human resource. But how you measure what you're doing with the human resource? Now it's AI. Everything's supposed to be, according to all you some time ago, everything's supposed to carry data and everything, so you know everything, where everything is, where who could do what is, and it's a total human resource. And we also having 2 things here that are holding on to: decentralization and diversification. And those 2 words will go into almost every sector of the society, because those 2 things are needed now, coming out from the from the slavery and the whatever we came out from, being subjugated. So we have to change that subjugation now and bring the thing to the people, because the people need to know what to do. The people need that. The more we know that, is the more they can't do nothing, more we were able to control and understand and also control and deal with ministries. Because our whole life is through every ministry. Sometimes they make 20, 40, 60, 80. And every ministry we still, when it's done with, we just go into them as consumers. We ain't knowing nothing. So all you treat people who concern themselves as human resource people, all they have a lot to do. What I would promote is that aside from the three of you, in some corner, all you find 9 more. And create 12 ministries of all yourself on the outside of government, and follow on to that, and able to occupy all yourself, knowing everything going on in all the ministries, and the same 12, I don't want more than 12. All you do is that, I want all you do that, all you know everything what's going on inside, because I hearing some part of it there, and all you asking question of what is this and what is that, as big as always. So you realize as big as always, and all you still have to be asking question, what about me, boy? You understand? So, all you going good and decentralization and diversification is that important to all the ministries, all. So don't care. I hear all you was talking some time ago about having ambassadors. We have to get some good ambassadors to these all 12 ambassadors to go all about the place and bringing things. It's growth all looking for, everything has to come together to do it. Okay, I can't talk all the time. I know big politician I call you, but I fit in the linkage on them to put them nice for you.
Thanks, Mr. President. We listened to you. Yeah, he made a lot of sense.
Yeah, it made sense, really and truly.
What is important is that you see, the umpires really should be also, while we surveil the field, we should be able to give some kind of match analysis. That is, we should be able to arrive at some kind of solution as to what might be the best thing, what is the best practice, that kind of thing. But we want to hear the public also. We want to hear what the public has to say.
Give them the numbers again.
Right? So the numbers, in case those you didn't get it before, is 342-0081, 466-5391 and 771-1791. Those are the numbers. We are the umpires. Right? So Ronaldo, what's your take on the...
Well, the caller is right about the role of the 12th man. We understand that even though the 12th man looking on, they're very, very influential on the game. If they don't explain certain things to them, they might start a pelt because they don't understand why you only playing down the ball. You should have hit that. You go cricket games and you feel everybody's a coach in the stands. Everybody know what you should have hit, what you should have blocked, or if they're cheating you get them. They are involved. They are involved because they are affected. Remember, you might get paid and you go home and drink your wine. This time them crying. But when your team lost, it ain't easy.
But it's a bigger, I mean, we talk about it, and this conversation is a revolving, it's a dynamic thing, it's a revolving conversation, because we opened the field by looking at doing a analysis of the field and that kind of thing. And one of the things we talk a lot about is the education system. Yeah. And to a large extent, a lot of the things we are talking about here evolves around people understanding and having the capacity to be able to take what is needed and generate that productivity also.
And that is where the solution lies, as we have always said. If you want to change the ethic and the culture, some of us done gone already, it ain't getting better. But the little ones, the Trinidad that is to come, the future, you have to invest and sell them. You have to get them disaccustomed to some of the things that we are accustomed to. That we grown and we, well, boy, that is Trinidad for it.
They're already figuring it out to a large extent. The problem is if what they figure, the medium by which they're figuring it out with is the right medium, and if we could control certain things, these spaces, like for instance, I was looking at a study, a MIT study recently, which says that AI things like ChatGPT and things, that is also doing a lot of damage to the education system also.
Correct.
Because they did an experiment with people who write an exam, answer a question with AI using ChatGPT, and persons who answer a question at university just thinking it out and writing it. And what I found is that the person who use 90% of the people who use ChatGPT, you ask them to write that same thing moments after, and they can't even write a sentence of it. So clearly, while it is good because it creates a certain kind of efficiency, but it's killing the brain of a lot of people also, and that is also sad.
Well, the globe is going that way, you know, because we have I think Elon Musk, and they going to launch the driverless taxi in Texas or one of these.
No, they had that in China.
No, again, just so we know how to drive. There'll come a time then we forget how to drive.
Well, the question is, would we need to?
Then they'll come.
Yeah, because
that to me might be different.
Home now, then there'll come a time when we stop exercising and moving. There'll come a time when we stop perspiring.
Well, what AI and technology has done, AI and technology has replaced the need for content and memory. But it does not replace the need for interpretation and analysis
and thinking.
Yeah,
thinking.
You had to remember the book. No, you don't have to remember the book, but you still have to talk sense.
Right. So but if it talking sense for you, and you remember the book for you, then what is your?
Then you have to just indicate your needs.
No, but I wouldn't say it talks sense for you. It gives you perspectives, but many perspectives you still have to analyze.
But
you still have to.
Okay, no, but then I think the way he's driving at, you know what happened? We had a global population of 8 billion. It might come down to really only about 1 million people needed to think. Yeah, will do the rest.
No, I mean, as if you could use it, if you could integrate it into your own.
And that requires
your own thinking, because the way I write is really a product of how I think.
How you think.
And my reality.
Your reality, yes.
Correct. Yeah. And if AI can't do that for me.
No.
So AI will give me a generic response to a question asked.
Correct.
Right? Now I have to take that now and fashion it or tailor it to suit me. Now, AI eventually will learn how to do all of that.
Yes.
But in the meanwhile, and even when they learn to do that, you still have to be thinking also, because you know what you want, and you can't just...
We ask the hypothetical question now. We don't want to drift from the two batsmen. But would you see human beings, our thinking is evolving in terms of behavior, or are we regressing?
I think we are evolving. Not so much in Trinidad and Tobago.
Negative way in terms of our behavior.
We evolving in a positive, trickling down in Trinidad and Tobago, and probably less developed countries. But the way these things are used in some other places, and the things they are creating with it, and the resources they have to complement it, we just don't have that. And that, to me, is a challenge.
I think...
I just want to say something. I'm mischief right now.
Yes.
When I say if we evolving, it based on in whose mind we evolving and is whose outcome. Okay, would you say America is progressing in terms of leadership?
If I would say that?
Yeah. Are they evolving in terms of they understand the dynamics of the global economic thing, and they're looking at for leadership that will take them into the next paradigm shift?
Yes, of course.
As the case
Of course they are. Of course they are.
Yeah.
You know, America had to be moving all the time because America see themselves as the world hegemon, and at the end of the day, they have to always be competing to be the best, and is a kind of existentiality for them.
So they would look
right?
at strategic leadership.
So they always have to be looking at it.
And so forth.
China is doing it naturally.
So they would look at the best of the people to put as presidents to lead the country and share.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. That already happened.
You see what I'm saying? So it's in whose minds?
Well, as you're on that point, I was just reading here that, and we will have to verify this, that there's been a ceasefire announced by President Trump between the two countries. So we wait to see if that will really
So they
hold.
realize that they had to put a stop to Israel.
Everybody will lose.
Because everybody will lose.
Well,
so when it was not affecting them, right, it was safe to mash up Iran.
Yeah.
But Iran now put a spoke in the wheel. They want to ceasefire.
Well, you see, you still have to, even in the presence of great technology, you still have to think. And you still have to discern. Because there's what you call too much information. Which is also coupled with misinformation. You understand? You would see it in the American and the British political debates. You talk about fact-checking. Because I could say something and you could say something and I could say something, and the whole crowd lost as to what are the facts based on what we said. So the technology and all doesn't it doesn't just solve the problem all by itself. The other issue is this: the application of it must also be tested. Because you could have how much technology, if you're in the desert or you're in the jungle or you're in the Amazon, it will be of no use. It will be of no use. I don't know if you're in the Amazon and you pull up Google Maps, how helpful that will be. You understand? So the human condition and the human impetus still has relevance.
Of course.
And will always have relevance.
Of course.
And getting back to our two people in the wicket, they will have to use a combination of the technology, the human resource, to have a conversation. And I think the human element is the most difficult element, despite what is going on in the world economics. How do you convince this generation, this population, that we're going to sacrifice? You could get this, you can't get that, and it's for our good. We have heard those messages sent to workers before, and for a large extent, judging from the results, they say they were betrayed. They say the last team take them on a long ride to nowhere, and while they're telling us tighten the belt, their belt can't buckle. You understand? So we have to sell the same message because it's more tighten belt time, not so. With all the trade war and there's more tightening now, you know. But how do you sell that? How do you earn public trust? How do you want these workers and you tell them about the productivity?
Well, it's a critical thing with leadership is truth and consistency, yeah?
Yes.
You can't be telling me one thing here and go and doing something else here.
Correct.
You have to be consistent. If there is a message, you have to live the message really and truly, and so forth. So you can't say, well, we tighten the belt or we're doing this, but there's lavish and wastage and wanton wastage. I give a simple example last time. In terms of turning around the economy, would I, who give an example of making a decision? I remember this Minister of Sports, Brian Lara Stadium.
Let me call you back.
Yeah, Brian Lara Stadium was in the position that it needed, I think, $95 million to complete. Yeah, under his tenure. And he say, here what? Why you didn't complete it? You go people money, you waste people money and dilapidate, and we can fix it up with $95 million and so forth. And he said, well, I had a choice to make. I could take that $95 million and fix every sporting facility in the country. And everybody on a field to play, then take the 95 and fix one facility that only a minority could play on. So I made that decision. Now, the problem is, again, only after he was explaining that and so forth, but that was never explained as to why we look at, like, we were doing me on mischief, because them bill it, you don't want to spend the money on it, but you had a logical reason, a measurable reason, that I wanted the majority to benefit from the 95 than the minuscule minority. And that was his logic.
Yeah.
But again, it's how we communicate the benefits of a decision that is being made, so people understand, oh, we understand. When there's more, we'll go at it. But right now, let as much people benefit from a decision that we're making, as the case will be. So again, in terms of success by the two batsmen, communication as to what is the outcome we're looking for, why we're making this decision, how all could benefit from the decision, or the vast majority can benefit from the decision.
And we must not try to fool the public, because that doesn't pan out, you know, well. We remember, if those of us who've been watching this match for a while, remember there have been certain decisions, certain spending that the public may not have all the facts, but they were like, for real, that's the cost of a flag? For real, that's the cost of a fire truck? That's how much it costs. For real.
Don't
do with that. Don't do with that. And that was the accusation leveled against the fielding team, that the stories began to be very, very, very strange. Very, very. Rent of empty buildings.
You know, one thing a minister used to tell me in the past, he said, you know, when we ministers get up with boy, he said, we just feel we smarter than everybody else, you know. Not realizing them fellas are they way smarter than we are.
Not only that, now not realizing they're sitting down in front of a fishbowl, very transparent.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Very transparent, we senior.
And they just go and feel, I suddenly, to last week, on the corner, liming, drinking, all kind of thing. Next week, I get a job as a minister, and suddenly I feel like brighter everybody in the ministry.
For real.
You know.
And
I'm the smartest man on the block because my title is minister.
And Lord help you. Lord help you if they don't put you to field by the boundary. Where Granny have she umbrella.
You look, President Collins.
Or somebody have a bottle.
Let me engage President a little bit. Yeah, good evening, President.
You sure, yeah?
No, you go on.
If they put you to field by the boundary, and the person, the 12th man in the pavilion, not satisfied with that stroke, that drop catch you make, you know what's going to happen to you?
Felt a cup with some water.
You know what's going to happen to you? And we see it in communities. I'm glad you talk about water. Somebody get water and them already too.
Yeah.
You know?
Two of them was Aki Lordin.
Yeah, we saw that already, because sometimes we tend to take good graces for granted. You know? And I think that's how the public felt about a lot of things. We could have how much political and legal explanations, and that is their legal right, and it doesn't work.
I think a lot of times what executive or people in the wicket get tied up with, and I talk about it a few times, not because it is legal, mean that you doesn't have to show a level of empathy. And there were a lot of these batsmen and so forth in wicket just forget empathy, compassion, and so we are break no law.
Yeah,
Mr. President.
Yeah. I want to say something earlier on this, and we have a term we just use for it out here: lead by example. Now, how we can get the society to get into the program, like. But the trouble already is like the bully to the other, to the opposite side, the one who have everything, the one who could do and don't feel and could, he ain't care. So then he already care what the public see, how they think. So he is a bully on top of it psychologically. So in real, if the police do good, and the society go like him, but if he don't do good, the police and the society wouldn't like him. But that's the same thing with the governments of the place. That if they're continually being greedy, being covetousness, being massa, being that, then how do you expect the opposite end to see them, and what do you expect the opposite end going to do? So eventually what we're saying is honesty, justice, consciousness, the reality of equity. And these things are so important to the human resource development. Because without that, the human, the pavilion wouldn't like the game. The batsmen, they have a work to do. Well, do it and be honest, do it, and do it with proper productivity so that the people will see, yeah? But if they legacy with the job, then the pavilion and the people for the play big stone on the field. I think, we have to be truthful in our life. And the only way we will get you is when we act. The truthfulness of what we see that we could bring forward to make the betterment for all. If we do not do that, then we will always be in the chaos because nobody showing a proper example. Nobody, money just bring a kind of, from the time I get money, I find I get too big for the smaller man. But all that is problem, where we going with the lack of communication in the world in the first place. The lack of communication with one another, if we haven't that, which is the basic glue in the whole of existence, because we have to communicate with everything to exist. Someone God creates everything out there for us to communicate with, to understand and able to exist and survive with. So, Papa,
Thank you, Prezi. Thank you.
Well, umpires, the next call?
Yeah, so just one word, I say empathy. But what must be practiced is a level of ethics in leadership. That ethical behavior, because a lot of them thrive on, I break the law.
Let me take this call.
Yeah.
Good evening, caller.
Ethical behavior.
Yeah,
he probably listens.
Hearing us?
Yes, gentlemen. Good day.
Good evening.
Oh gosh, as always, that topic with water, people getting water thrown on them, I don't think that as Trinidadians we just overdo it in that regard. Now, for us to throw water on you, it means that you will have gotten your chance, and we see that it's failure. Hence the reason Fitzgerald get our water on him down in the beaton, because when I looked at how MPs are being treated in this country is with plenty respect. You understand? Although we just have a lot to say and think, but you get plenty rope. Like for instance, right now, I am certain that nobody who want to throw water on Khadija Amin, based on how she is carrying about herself in the ministry.
Nobody want to throw water.
But as I say, I don't feel that when you get water thrown on you as the batsperson or the fielder, in my opinion, it is well deserved. Right? It is well deserved because we just give our leaders plenty room. You understand? And the thing is, all it requires is willpower and a full understanding of what is taking place. Because if it is, we see that we paying supervisors, we paying managers, right? We have to be in a position to speak to whatever the issue is. If the issue is the supervisors not doing the job or the managers not doing the job, we have to be able to speak to that. If the issue is the people who are below that, the clerks or what have you, not doing the job, then we have to speak and treat with that. You understand? But too often, we don't allocate the blame or the responsibility where it should be, right? Because as one of your callers outlined, it have things existing to treat with the issues that we still dealing with, right? Just like how Mr. Selborn was highlighting, you have the BIR where you're just changing a name and bringing TTR and talking all kind of fancy talk as if that will be the answer to the issue. It have things to treat with the existing issue. It is that we are not implementing it. So, for instance, it already had the traffic offenses on the books, but only when the penalties and the fines increase, then we see this aggressive implementation by the police service, by traffic wardens, by licensing the officers, and things like that. We really. So much to say, but
well, caller, you're very right, because you're very right, caller, because every time, for instance, you always hear people talk about WASA. Oh gosh, WASA always getting licks, WASA overstaff, but workers don't hire themselves. People then walk off the street and walk in WASA and put on a jersey. It didn't happen like that. So these monsters that we have, that we complain of, monsters quote unquote, it didn't happen just so.
Yeah, but
it's easy to blame the workers, eh?
But there's also a fundamental misunderstanding,
right,
as to where blame should fall. And I remember, Selvon, you and I on a program, and you talk that all the time. Sometimes we blame the wrong people, but the people who we blame and really should really take some blame too, because they put themselves in that fine thing to be blamed. They
assume the position.
They assume a certain kind of position, like it is
my responsibility.
I'm in charge, you know.
Yeah.
So suddenly you understand. You think, well, you own Trinidad, you own that part. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You have a team of people working with you, and you're supposed to let them know that they have responsibilities too, and their responsibility is to make the thing happen the way it should be happening. And then the state, as we always say here, have a responsibility, right?
Well, before we close off, because we realize we're coming to the end of the day's play, we have to give the listening public or the audience about where we're going tomorrow.
So to some extent, Labour get out down.
Okay.
Who coming in the wicket tomorrow?
We got to bring public administration.
Public administration.
Yeah, because we refer to that a lot.
Yeah.
We talked about the public service a lot, but public admin had to come in. And we
trade needs some help.
Trade needs some help.
What brings some business, but you need people to be effective in bringing that business.
Correct.
And systems.
So the foot soldiers of this trade initiative is the public administration people. Good. We look at the unions, we look at labor already, we examine that. But
we examine the prevailing conditions, the situation with the international affairs, geopolitics,
correct,
you know, that kind of thing, and how it affects what we do here in Trinidad and Tobago. So that too is that will always be almost a silent, not even silent, but that will always be a recurrent decimal in terms of everything, how everything works, how everything come together. The geopolitics, what's happening out there, is very important. And
because I've always maintained that we have a bias, you know, when addressing issues in the public service. We tend to look at the clerks and the people who follow instructions. The people who receive the most instructions,
and sometimes not properly managed.
Correct.
Good.
Even with
processes, no systems.
Even with that lunchtime thing.
Yes, the people who holding down 2 and 3 posts but getting paid for one. You're going in an office and they're doing 5 different things, but they have one job. So we really have to examine this tomorrow. God spare life. We really have to look at public admin, and
because they are responsible to a large extent for managing that enabling environment for business to thrive.
Correct.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you have it from us. You know where we're going tomorrow. You know what are the needs of the batsmen that are coming in office, and we are leaving now.
And so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919.